Will the Shrey Group default be resolved as quickly as DHFL? Will it be able to retrieve even more than the 30,000 crores that is at stake? And that is the question that we're asking today. To remind you, the RBI has now superseded the board of both Shrey Infra Finance and Shrey Equipment Finance and named Rajneesh Sharma, the former Chief General Manager at Bank of Baroda, as the administrator. RBI said this was because of governance concerns at Shrey and defaults committed by the company. Now remember, an RBI audit last year had found over 8,500 crores of potential related party lending by Shrey Group companies. The RBI will now initiate bankruptcy proceedings against Shrey under the NCLT, and thereafter the administrator and lenders can start the process of inviting bids. To discuss the way ahead for Shrey, we have with us a very special panel of experts who've been there, done that. Ashwini Bhatia, the Managing Director at State Bank of India, T.T. Srinivas Raghavan, the former MD of Sundaram Finance and also a member of the advisory committee to the administrator of Shrey, Abhizar Devanji, National Leader for Financial Services at Ernst & Young, and Bairam Vakil, the founder and senior partner at AZB and Partners. But first, let's go across to Lata Venkatesh, who joins in with some insights into the challenges that resolving a company like Shrey will involve.
Well, until now, banks were waiting for the resolution, for RBI to push the resolution into the IBC and appoint an administrator. But now the realization has come that Shrey may not be as easy as DHFL, that it perhaps is more likely to be like IL&FS. And why do people say that? Because there are less retail loans and more lumpy infrastructure lending, more like IL&FS. Also, there is a tangled web of companies in the Shrey Group itself, with subsidiaries, funds, asset management companies, trusts, all of them in the picture. So let me try and disentangle some of the structure. See, at the head of the Shrey Group is the Kanoria Foundation, owned by the family. The Kanoria Foundation directly owns 4 companies, 99.9% in Aksara Commercial, Adi Shakti Commercial, Adi Sri Commercial, Vara Technologies. And it holds all the other companies under this, Shrey Infra, Shrey Equipment, etc. Also, they have a lot of trusts. For example, Power Trust. That's just one of the trusts in which the Shrey Kanoria family has a trust, has an interest. Now, the other funds that they have trusts. They also own funds in which they are principal contributors. Shrey Alternate Investment Trust, Shrey Multiple Asset Investment Trust. These are some of them, and also the Bharat Nirman Fund. Now, the problem, all these funds, of course, are managed by the Trinity Asset Management Company, which is again owned by Shrey Group itself. Now, why is this related party coming? Shrey Infra and Shrey Equipment are owned by the holding company. I told you, Adi Shakti, Aksara. It's held by those holding companies of the Kanoria Foundation. But they have given loans to other companies that are indirectly held by the Kanoria family. For instance, they have given loans. For instance, Shrey Infra has given loan to Shrishti Infra. Shrishti Infra is owned by another company which Kanoria family owns, which is Adi Shakti. And that has not been recognized as related party. Likewise, so, that becomes one of the problems which need to be disentangled. It is more problematic when it is a trust. For instance, they had a company, one of the group companies, IPCL. It was owned by the promoter company Aksara. It transferred all its investments, its investment division, to a created trust called Power Trust. Now, Power Trust owns stake in several companies, and the companies owned by them were given loans by Shrey Infra. But Shrey Infra and Shrey Equipment did not recognize them as related party. A similar thing happened to the funds I spoke about, multi-asset fund, in which Shrey has an interest. Now, the companies owned by the group funds are plenty. They usually go by the name Quippo. There are some 30 companies over there. Loans given to them by Shrey Infra and Shrey Equipment are also not recognized as related party. There is more than that. The loans given to the group companies were long-term loans, say 8-year loans, in which the first 5 years, the interest was at 1%. And then from the 5th to 8th year, the interest is charged and a 12% yield is charged. But the point is, if you're lending to a group company, that investment has to be deducted from your net owned funds and from your capital. If you take that kind of reduction in Shrey's capital, then Shrey becomes highly over-leveraged. It is 8 times leveraged, whereas in India, on an average, according to RBI data, NBFC is leveraged 3.2 times, which means shareholder funds are 1 rupee, they can lend 3 more rupees as debt. But Shrey has 8 times loan to equity. Now, the other big problem that the administrator and the committee of creditors will face is who owns the NCDs. For Shrey Equipment, the unsecured NCDs are owned, look here, by provident funds. So many of them, all state-owned, you know, MSRTC, the Madhya Pradesh Electricity Board, the Haryana Power Distribution Company. So many of them are provident funds. Of course, secured, there are also Stan Chart, Edelweiss, LIC. Now, how do you resolve between them? One of them is an insurance, one of them is an NBFC, one of them is a foreign bank, and there are provident funds. The Indian Oil Company's provident fund, that's holding a secured NCD for Shrey Equipment. A similar, I can run you through Shrey Infra as well. The secured NCDs will, the unsecured NCDs will come up for you. Again, you will see a mix of banks and provident funds. Let's go to the, these are the unsecured ones. Let's go to the secured ones. Here again, see unsecured, Gujarat Housing Board Pension Fund. And when you come to the secured holders, KSRTC, Karnataka State Road Transport Corporation, MTNL Provident Fund, and then there are the banks. So it's going to be extremely tricky to resolve this because under IBC waterfall, banks get more and NCD holders, debenture holders get less. But here the debenture holders are also very small people, so it can pose a lot of dangers.
Well, Lata, thanks very much for taking us through all of that. It seems very complicated and a whole lot of red flags that should have been triggered. So let me ask you that, Mr. Ashwini Bhatia, you know, as one of the large lenders to the company, you've been looking into the books of Shrey for some time. You know, when did the red flags first start to appear for you? Could this have been done earlier? Because the payments have been delayed for over a year now. The FY20 audit had question marks on related party lending.
So we were aware that something was not right with the company some time back, but the banks were prevented from taking any action because of a specific NCLT order. So till that order was not vacated, and that earlier the order was also restrained Reserve Bank of India from taking certain actions. So once that case was won by the banks at NCLAT, once that was cleared, only then the banks could actually have moved forward, which actually happened last month. And I think the decision taken by Reserve Bank of India, of course, we welcome it, number one. And number two, because there is some precedent now, you know, we have the example of DHFL and RBI referred it to the IBC. I think this is a step in the right direction. So obviously, every case is different. This case is different from DHFL. Like maybe, you know, when we did the steel companies, each case was different from the other. And each case also has its own complexities.
But that point is taken. No, Ashwini, I have a more specific point. That is why I drew out the entire holding companies and trusts and funds. Now, Behram, since you went through the legalese in DHFL, this is complicated because there is possibly some round tripping. Loans were given to one intermediate entity, which is a trust or a fund, and then passed on to another company. Loans were given only to Evergreen. So you pay one company and another company pays you back so that the loan doesn't look like a default. In this case, can the administrator even go forward without having the books of everybody? And does Reserve Bank have the authority, or even the administrator has the authority to call for the books of anything other than the two companies?
No, thanks, Lata. That was quite a, you know, encapsulated masterclass that you just ran through. It's definitely got a lot of complications. As you know, there is no legal concept of group insolvency, but the courts have worked on it on an ad hoc basis, like video count, etc. So I think something like that will have to be done. And we'll have to see. I mean, these are excellent questions and only time will tell.
Well, Mr. Srinivas Raghavan, you're now on the advisory committee for the administrator. Have you all looked at the books yet? What steps have been taken so far in the 24 hours that have passed since?
The honest answer is, I think Lata knows a lot more about what's going on than any of us, because all I'm aware of is what I've read of in the press, and of course over the next few days we will get more details from the RBI, from the administrator. So right now, I think Lata is certainly the best informed of all of us.
No, Mr. Srinivas Raghavan, not at all. This is only what is available in the public domain. Nothing beyond that. But Abhisar, I don't know if you were involved in IL&FS in any fashion, in any remote corner, advising any of the companies. But my point is, legally, we were all celebrating. In fact, I remember asking you, both of you were there when we were doing the DHFL discussion. Remember, I said, oh, if only RBI had brought IL&FS under the IBC. Now I'm wondering whether IBC would be the route, because the Committee of Creditors and the administrator have limited powers, whereas the CLB, under which you get the IL&FS resolution, has more powers to call books. So can you even resolve this problem under IBC?
Oh, so first of all, I don't think CLB regulations are designed to address insolvencies or defaults.
Okay.
To that extent, I think the IBC is a good mechanism. What the IBC does here is actually puts a moratorium on what monies can be paid out to anybody, including the creditors. That leaves the field open to first make sure that we get a house in order in terms of the existing exposures of strain. So as you rightly put out this web of companies, what happens next here is when you actually find out where the end use of some of these monies have gone, you can at that point in time certainly go to a CLB and request that to use their powers as an administrator under 45 AE2 as well as under the IBC Act. I think the administrator will have larger powers to get into the company and establish the facts. At the moment, there was a situation of mistrust between the existing promoters as well as the bankers. What IBC will enable you to do as a first step, at least, to clear the air. And then, because of the provisions of IBC, those assets will be available with a clean cut to whoever wants to buy them. And that kind of a mechanism is very difficult to achieve. If you had a CLB process and you had a 75% vote present and voting structure, you have a drag. IBC enables resolutions to happen in a clean manner where cash is collected separately.
Okay, Abhisar, my point is more direct. Behram, you tell me, can this problem be resolved without seeing the books of Shrishti Infra, without seeing the books of, Shrey Multi-Asset Fund? Can you even resolve this problem? What if there were all pass-through loans? I gave one entity which gave another. Will the administrator be able to resolve, Behram? That is the first question. And secondly, will he be able to call for the books? Will he have the power?
No, so I think that it is complicated. I don't think there's a black and white answer. You can, as I mentioned, there have been cases where the two companies, equipment and infrastructure, definitely can have one administrator and dealt with jointly. And then depending on the facts and the evidence you have to try and untangle the rest of the web. But as Abhisar said, the powers are wide and it's doable, but certainly it's going to be complicated. It's not an easy one, that's for sure.
Okay. Well, I have lots more questions from Mr. Srinivas Raghavan and Ashwini. We are back in a minute. Have to take a commercial break. Welcome back. We are speaking with Ashwini Bhatia of State Bank of India, TT Srinivas Raghavan, who is in the advisory committee to the administrator of SRAE, Abhisar Diwanji of Ernst & Young, and Behram Vakil of AZB. We're discussing whether the SRAE takeover by the administrator appointed by RBI can result in a quick resolution. Mr. Srinivasaraghavan, would people be interested in infra assets? In DHFL's case, that retail piece had a lot of suitors. Infra assets?
Yeah, doubtful. And even if there are interested buyers, they would be fewer in number. That's, of course, there are specialist infra players who could be interested, but it would be a much smaller field, so to speak, as compared to DHFL's assets, which were, as you rightly pointed out, were largely retail in nature, and therefore, I think, had better marketability. But again, I think it's only when we untangle, all the stuff that's across all these entities, will a clear picture emerge in terms of what sort of assets we're talking about. Because right now, I think it's quite hazy, and unless we get our arms around it, I think it'd be probably premature to sort of make any guesses.
Okay.
But Mr. Bhatia, since you've been a lender to the company, how much of this 30,000 odd crores of debt is salvageable in your sense? And Makara, Arena, all these investors, do you think they'll come back to participate under IBC?
So I think you'll have to just wait and see. But coming back to the specific question that Lata put to Mr. Srinivasaraghavan, there could be some assets downstream, which are infrastructure assets, road assets, other assets. So it would be a challenge actually to bring them all in together. And if you're able to do that, and on your channel only the promoters had said that, the lenders will not suffer any loss. If they keep their word, they go by letter and spirit, maybe we should be able to get decent recovery. But if you ask me to put a number to it, I don't have one.
But Mr. Bhatia, you think that because infrastructure is a bit on an upswing, I mean, power today is a buzzword, those are the shares that are really buzzing away. You think infra will have buyers?
Possibly, why not?
Okay.
So there's a price to every asset, right?
Okay.
So
Price.
so whether it is a deep discount or some discount, that is for the buyer to decide, I guess.
Okay. Behram, this other problem that I was elaborating, lots of the FD owners, or not FD in this case, NCD guys, debenture holders are pension funds. So if you gave 43% to banks and 23% to the debenture holders, it may not wash. You see that as a problem?
Yeah, I mean, but that, frankly, Lata, as you know, we had the problem in Diwan also. Except there it was also FD holders.
Yeah.
So that's a very emotional issue. But legally speaking, it's pretty clear cut, and the law as it stands is very clear.
Okay. Abizar, since you've also worked with DHFL, what are some of the key lessons you'll draw when implementing a resolution for or inviting bids for Shrey? Would it be sold in totality, in parts? What are some of the key lessons to draw that can help Shrey, perhaps get a better bid?
So my view is that, as everybody has said, first of all, this is a causes for horses story. Here we have 141 odd exposures, and one will have to at least cover. And if you cover around 50-60% of the book, you would cover, in terms of number, if you cover 60-70% of the book, you would cover around 75% of the portfolio. And really, we'll have to get into each one of them and work out a resolution plan. What is the likely way of recovering that money? And as Ratha rightly said, that would also mean getting into the books of those companies. Do not forget that because Shrey himself is a lender, it has the ability to take companies to IBC itself, and thereafter get all the access to all the books that it has. So at the end of the day, I think there is the Companies Act route, there is the IBC route, and whatever is the right way would be done. Ideally, we will have to first make sure that the portfolio is valued well in terms of a recovery plan. This is like, if I may say so colloquially, it is a bad bank in the parallel. And you will have to find resolutions for each of those large companies. And basis that resolution, you will have to go and market that plan to investors.
At this rate, Abizar, are we looking at a long stretch before we see any resolution for Shrey?
Not really. I don't think so. I think if you look at it, getting the house in order in Shrey could be a 6 month or 5 to 6 month job. parallelly, there will be a lot of CIRP processes that happen. We need to do a Section 66 review, which is a fraud review on the company, a Section 43 review, which is a avoidance transaction review. So we will have to do a lot of these IBC processes which go on parallelly. And those processes will actually help you uncover a lot more, as we've seen in DHFL also.
Okay. So the administrator takes the other group companies to the NCLT if needed.
Potentially.
Right?
Potentially.
Okay. Okay. Ashwini, just last quick guess. How much do you expect to recover, as Ritu asked you, and by when?
Very difficult to give a number. But if we get
How much
the
is written off? Okay, that much you can say. Will banks suffer a hit? Some bankers told me that they've already written off 30%. So will it be a pain in the books?
So you'll have to go by the RBI rules. So if it is a substandard asset, you take a 15% hit. If there's an unsecured portion, you take 100% hit.
Okay.
So the numbers haven't been kind of framed yet. But yes, it could be a big number.
So could it be better than the 46% recovery you got in DHFL? Better or worse? Just one word answer.
So, I mean, very frankly, that depends on the bidder, very frankly.
Oh, of course.
So if we get a good bidder who's interested in some book which is better than the others, and here we do know that, for example, the equipment piece is better than the infra piece. So obviously there could be some juice in the assets.
All the very best to the banker in particular, and of course to the person who will be advising and therefore will be breaking his head over the web of companies, Mr. Srinivas Raghavan, Abizar, Behram and Ashwini and Mr. Srinivas Raghavan. Thank you very much for joining us and helping us understand what lies ahead for SRAE and its resolution. We wrap up on this edition. Thank you very much for watching. In a minute, there's more lined up for you.